Hey, welcome to Magical Musings number 10, the shorter episodes in which I share some of my thoughts, some of my feelings, and some of my musings of the previous guests that have come onto the show. If you're watching this in the Patreon community, then hello, you can see this on the screen. Now, the first thing I'm going to think about here is recently spoken to fantastic guy, memory world champion, David Thomas, who is absolutely exceptional in every way, and everything he does, he just tries to be exceptional at everything he does. He really inspired me, and his episode will be coming out in the new year, and just the whole thing was a great episode about drive. I wanted to talk to him about lots of other things, but actually we came on and just started talking about drive and what drives us, and he's had a wonderful life. But he said something that was really profound, and it's really stuck with me, and it was the idea of our legacy. And the idea was that our legacy is not how much we earn. Our legacy is not the size of our car. Our legacy is not the car that we drive, but our legacy is the impact that we make in other people's lives. And he later goes on and shares about how, our knowledge is not for us to keep, it is for us to share. And it got me thinking about the impact that I make in people's lives, in what I do, whether it's, speaking, whether it's the Confident Club, whether it's in magic. And I think, I hold my hands up here. I think there's a few things I've done recently that isn't ecologically sound. Now, if you're not quite sure what that means, basically in the NLP world, if I've not mentioned I'm an NLP practitioner now, yes, very, very fancy Ricky. But ecologically sound is, I'll explain this basically, but what it means is every actions that you take will have an impact in our life, right? So I think sometimes I need to ask better questions to myself of how would this change or action that I take affect my friends, my family, my life, or even other areas of my life. So without revealing too much, I've done a few things recently, which I think it was born out of necessity and was born out of scarcity and jumping into things without really thinking and really doing things. My behavior was driven by a core value, I think, which I'm not going to go into too much detail because that's too personal. But I was looking at the calendar over the next couple of months and thought, oh my God, there's some space there. This is a bit worrying. So I was just saying yes to things that didn't fit around with my values. It didn't fit around my value that I offer. And yet I was saying yes to these things and I couldn't work out why. And I think now in hindsight, it was purely because I was, driven by a behavior of panic and fear. And the fear was driving this crazy, I was going to say scarcity, scatty behavior of taking like a really low paid gig. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But, everything I've built up to this point, there wasn't no need for that. And I didn't really understand why I did it. And it then dawned on me, the light bulb moment came on thinking about ecologically sound and the actions that we take always have an impact in our life. And the thing about ecologically minded, when we think about an outcome that we're going to be setting, or if it's like a goal that we might be doing, it's thinking about what if those actions, how they change, affect our friends and family. And there's things that I've done over the last couple of weeks that's been like, this has had a bit of an impact in my family. This has meant that I've not been able to see my family, or I've not been able to finish in the office at a reasonable time. And also that there's a real question that I just didn't really think about is, by doing this action, does this produce the outcome that I want? And no, it doesn't. And again, in hindsight, obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing. A lot of those decisions were purely based probably from fear that drove that ridiculous behavior. And actually, I think it's about thinking about do you know what? We have to ask ourselves these questions because every action we take has an impact in our life, right? And we have to think about if we're going to be doing something, we need to start asking those better questions about how would this change affect my family? How would this change affect my friends? How would this affect my personal life, my financial life, whatever it might be? And I think one of those questions that I just didn't really think about was, is this going to produce the outcome I want? Me taking on something that was just not against, not aligned to my values, that isn't going to produce the outcome that I want. Now, obviously, as I said, it's been driven out of fear. Now I understand it. But now I go forward is thinking that whatever something comes my way, I need to think, is this going to fit in line with my values? Is this going to produce the outcome I want? So let's say, for example, there's a let's say there's an income goal that you want to achieve, right? And you start focusing on that, and we know that you get what you focus on. So something will come up, and let's say that I don't know, let's say something comes in, and it's like a really it's not really the kind of work that you want to do, but you just do it anyway. I think now it's about thinking, actually, you know what? I'm going to say no, even if this means that I'll have no work or something like that. Ecologically, this isn't me. This isn't my standard. This isn't the value that I can provide. I'm worth more than this. This isn't going to help produce the outcome that I want. So I think this is the questions we need to start thinking about. And I know this is very cryptic because I'm not really giving a lot of information away because there's some personal stuff here that I can't really say. But I think the point and the outcome of this Magical Musings number 10 is to ask ourselves, is it ecologically sound? Is my action by doing whatever it is I'm going to do, is it going to produce the outcome that I want? If it isn't, then stop bloody doing it, or don't even say yes and do something. There's been 2 occasions over the last 6 weeks where I've said yes to something, and now in hindsight thinking that's not going to produce my outcome. Why am I doing it? So I guess this is just some Magical Musings. Quite profound thought here is to think about this in whatever you do, whether you've got a goal in your mind, whether you've got something that you're working towards. You have to really think carefully. Don't jump like I did in 2 occasions, which I can't really say. It's difficult. It was basically just an event that I did that was just really rubbish, and I don't know why I did it. Well, I do know. I know why I did it. Obviously, it was out of fear. That's why. But I shouldn't have done it because it wasn't ecologically sound. It wasn't going to help produce the outcome I wanted. So that's it. This is the Magical Musing in this one, is for everyone thinking about whatever might be on your mind, whatever goals you might have for 2023 or even 2024. If you're listening to this in 2 years' time, you need to ask that question of, is this action or me by doing this going to produce the outcome that I want? If it is, then do it. If it isn't, then don't do it. It has to fit with your values. It has to fit in line with everything. And yeah, I know I've mentioned like this as a similar idea with something earlier on this year, but it's really made me think about something that, you know what? Yeah, I've got to be more strong with this and just say, hey, this has to fit in with my values. It has to be ecologically sound, and it's got to help produce the outcome that I want. Now, obviously, that's going to sound very cryptic because I'm not really giving it a lot of information. I can't say stuff because people might be listening, But yeah, this is just something we need to think about. So that's my Magical Musings. I haven't done one in a while. Obviously, we're approaching the Christmas break. I am going to be having a short break over the festive period to focus on family because running this podcast, obviously, for now 2 years, which is fantastic. Obviously, I now have a daughter and she's 1 year old, which is amazing. And life is different. Life is more active and could do with a few more hours. So I'm going to have a short pause over the festive break, and we'll obviously be kicking back right in the brand new year because the 100th episode is on its way. But anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Really appreciate you for listening. So if you're watching this in the patrons, then obviously, hello, thank you for your support. Really appreciate your support. If you're not a patron, then obviously head to the link in the show notes. You can find out how to join for just as the price of a cup of coffee and get all this bonus content and bonus videos. And if you did like this episode, or if this thought-provoking Magical Musing has, inspired you, then let me know. Get in touch. Or you can come join the newsletter list by link in the show notes. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Good luck to everyone. If we don't speak before, then have a wonderful Christmas and a Happy New Year wherever you are. Goodbye.